Alright, real quick, time to do something I promised I would do a while ago, and we're playing through Rise. So this will be that dedicated Rise playthrough. We're doing it as Lithius, as he's the only one with all the restoration tweaks. The restoration update will add stage cutscenes, combos to Lithius and a noob rock. Those combos aren't completely done yet. Zamba's the only one who has complete combos at the moment. Ghostface, Jugger, Pawn, and potentially Monty, not sure yet, will not have combos. And there may or may not be some new content. We'll see with how everything else goes for this update. So far, it's going swimmingly, though. So we'll go ahead and play. You can go ahead and... since this is the full playthrough, I'm going slower on the cutscene parts, so you guys actually have a chance to read it. So we'll go over to stage 1. There's the intro cutscene for stage 1. Yes, it's 1 frame. Now, while I was playing through to make sure everything in the restoration update was working, I realized that stage 1 is probably my favorite one. I just think it works really well as an intro stage to introduce all the gameplay mechanics and overall feel of Rise. And it's not too hard or anything. I just think it's a pretty good intro stage. It might be the best stage in the game, in all honesty. Of course, it's not perfect, but I do think it is probably the best stage. Now, there's a glitch currently in the public build where Beezer's animations are very, very not functional. Giant rats aren't either, so I fixed that. There's also a glitch in the public build where if you fight the bosses in Endless as Zamba, specifically Bone Crusher, the game will crash, and if you fight them as Pawn, the game will crash. All of them as Pawn, the game will crash. So that's interesting. Specifically if you use the slash move as Zamba, which you're going to, or the magic as Pawn, which you're going to. Those are both some of their better moves, so I guarantee you're going to do that. That glitch will be fixed in the restoration update. If you're curious why I'm not fixing it in the current build and just uploading a small patch, the restoration update will be the last update for Rise, so I'm adding all that content at once. Now, here's the cutscene you get at the start of Stage 2. And we'll jump straight into Stage 2. Now, if you're playing through, you'll automatically go to the next story mode stage when you beat the previous one. When you die, you'll go to the map screen. Yes, your progress is saved, so you can jump directly back into Stage 2 if you died on Stage 2. Same with Stage 3, 4, and 5. This is just faster and makes the game more cohesive as a story. Because I assume you're going to play through the game like this to begin with. Straight shot. You're not going to go fight Lithius halfway through the game. I know that's an assumption, but I doubt you're gonna fight Lithius after you beat Stage 2 or something. Pressing the escape key in this new update will also take you out and back to the map screen. Pressing escape on the map screen will take you to the character select. Stage 2 is interesting as it introduces enemies with more than one move, and the first stage with any sort of mini-boss, which is a thing every stage has from this point forward, is multiple bosses. Stage, I guess Lithius, not really, but that stage is just a boss fight, so it barely counts. And Stage 5 is basically just bosses, but it does technically have mini-bosses in the form of Regulus and the Chaos Boys. No, the spin does not hurt Sumer, mostly because the hitbox of the spin is delegated to Lithius. It doesn't have like an extended hitbox like the slash or other slash, because those are the two moves Lithius has. Okay, we beat Sumer. Here's the Stage 3 intro cutscene. Stage 3's music does get grating after a while, but I'm fine with it. Stage 3 is probably the second best normal level. And there's several reasons why. Number one, the overall vibe. Now, overall, the Restoration update is mostly just improvements rather than additions. So far, no content additions have been made. The cutscenes are purely cosmetic, and therefore don't count as new content. No new content has been added in the Restoration update at this point, and I don't think combos will count. I don't think the Lithius and Nubrock's 2-hit combos will count as new content. As, you know, they're almost the same as the other moves to begin with, just different frames, potentially different damage like Zamba's does. Now, there is a glitch with Chaos Minion that I'm gonna have to fix, where during the Shockwave attack, he reverts to his old sprite at the end of it for the last frame of it, and yes, I will fix that. And yes, it is a glitch in the current build of the game. That's why I do this, though. That's why the Restoration update's a thing. There's so many bug fixes that I'm just getting out there in one big update, so I can focus on the next project, which you guys know what the next project is if you've watched the last 2 videos. Going back to Rise after working on the new project, that was kind of interesting. Because Rise overall is a pretty charming game aesthetically. Like, it does look... Oh my god, it looks like preschooler's first game. But Rise has its own charm to it, is what I'm trying to say. There's some sort of charm with Rise. Takeover has a completely different vibe to it. But I think Rise is great in what it is. Takeover's obviously going to be the better game of the two. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But Rise is definitely the fun, crappier game. Anyway, time for Usurper. The boss in the game with the highest DPS. That slam does 50 damage. So, yeah. Do not get hit by it. And I died. So we're gonna go into stage 4. If I die, I'm just gonna skip the stage. But thankfully, we were at the end anyway. I don't think I need to say that, by the way, I haven't said this yet, but I don't think I need to say DGM, the guy who did the intro cutscene and did the endings, also did the in-game cutscenes. I don't think at any point I needed to say that. I'm just saying it to give credit to him, because look at these. I obviously didn't make any in-game cutscenes besides one, and it's the worst cutscene in the game, and you'll see it at the end of the video. So, yep. Time for the worst level, Crypts. It's obviously got a lot of problems. Most of that's because of the Spectres and Novas. Corpses aren't too big a deal, but yeah. The Spectres will not return as an enemy in Takeover, and that's a really good thing, because frick the Spectres. I hate them so much. They're also the only enemy not in Endless, and that's a good thing. Frick the Spectres. I hate them so much, man. Is it possible to hate one of your own creations this much? Like, there are enemies called Spectres in, like, the actual, 4-Fats games, right? There's one in M2. I mean, not M2. There's one in Maximus 1, but that guy, eventually became, what, Skullgrin. Skullgrin is adapted from that. And there's an enemy called Spectre in Dungeon Time, but the Rise Spectres don't really resemble either of them. It's just in name only, I guess. Same with Skullgrin, really. Skullgrin doesn't really look like Skullgrin at all from the 4-Fats games. It's in name only. Schlurgle as well, technically. I guess there was the chicken is on the border of the screen there. I don't want to move that over a little bit. All the boss themes were done by CK. It says that in the credits. I'm just saying it now because there's not really a lot to say about the Chaos Boy fights. They're pretty simple. I do think Minion has the better fight overall. Sentinel definitely has the better animations. Nova's the worst. There are so many glitches with Novas in general. I guess there's another food on the corner of the screen here, which means the next screen is Forest and Regulus. Yeah, I'm gonna move that Spectre out of the corner. That is in a terrible spot right there. Nope, last screen, okay. Ugh. Oh, I'm an idiot. The healing noise on the previous screen wasn't from me touching corner food, it was from the Spectres, because they make that noise when they heal an enemy. God, I died. I'm gonna go back into stage 4, because I did that really poorly. I don't think I've ever beaten stage 4 on camera now that I think about it. I've obviously beaten stage 4 before. I had to playtest my own game. I have beaten the game. But I don't think I've beaten stage 4 on camera. Or stage 3 for that matter. I don't think I've beaten stage 1, 2, and 5. But I don't think I've beaten stage 3 or 4 on camera. Which is kind of stupid. Now, the only enemy, I think, on stage 4 that can stagger you and, you know, make you lose the Beezer is obviously, Chaos Sentinel, because I don't think Forest can. I don't remember if his swipes actually caught stagger, and I'm not in the mood to test that. It's been a while since I've worked on Rise, obviously. I've been focusing on Takeover for, like, the last 2-3 weeks, since, like, the 25th of last month, I want to say? I don't know. But I've been working on Takeover for a while. It's been the predominant focus. Rise has kind of been in the back, as obviously it's a finished project. It's a project that still needs fixed and fine-tuned, but it's a finished project. Sentinel definitely has the better animations of the two Chaos Boys. Like, I think jump animation actually looks pretty good. Same thing with the knockback. His walking animation's a little iffy, but I don't think it's bad. Also, Sentinel will be the third playable character in Takeover. I said this in the previous video, but it's the case. Just needed to say more stuff about Sentinel. Now, the main reason Beezer's the only mount in the main game, and the reason why the other two mounts were scrapped and then added later in the first place, is because Beezer's the only one that gives the player any sort of benefit. The other two mounts don't really. Giant Rat does somewhat, Basher Claw definitely doesn't, Endless, but there's not enough enemies in any of the main game levels, besides this one, to warrant adding either of them. A little bit in Stage 3. There's a little bit in Stage 3. Alright, so these are the last two dudes we need to see before you guys can officially see Resurrectus and Forest on camera, because you guys have never seen them. Now, the advantage with this fight is you can shoot through Forest. He does not have a hit. He does not have a hurt box. Okay, so the swipes do not stagger you. They just damage you. Now, this fight I do think is easier than Usurper, but God, is it stressful. This is a stressful fight. Because Forest is just an immovable object. You have to work around him. Alright, we beat Forest. Alright, okay, there's the cutscene for Stage 5. Yes, again, yet again, it's one frame. Stage 5 time. Now, Stage 5's theme is so friggin' short. Like, it's so short. Like, listen to it right now. You never hear it loop, though, because immediately the boss of the theme of whatever boss you're about to fight starts playing when you get there. You're never gonna listen to the entirety of Stage 5's track. I think I'm the only person who's listened to the entirety of Stage 5's track. And Regulus is definitely the easiest boss in the game, no doubt. This used to be the hardest fight in the game. I nerfed the heck out of it, so it isn't now, but it used to be the hardest. No one experienced the hard version of this fight that I did, because Stage 5 released along with the full game. There were no beta tests of this particular fight. So I'm the only person who's actually fought this boss at its hardest. The duel fight was so bad at one point. It was so painfully difficult, and was the hardest part of the whole game. I've since changed that, obviously. Usurper. Ooh. Now, Usurper's the only boss, is the only single boss, because Damien and Regulus are the same. The Minion and Sentinel dudes are nerfed versions of their Stage 3 and 4 counterparts. So is Usurper. Usurper on Stage 3 has 120 health, on Stage 5 he has 100 flat. This is a change that was made quite late in development. I actually gave him more health on Stage 3 instead of... He used to have 100 on Stage 3 as well, but I gave him more health on Stage 3 so he could actually be, I don't know, a threat. He's not the easiest boss in the game, but Usurper definitely needed to be harder at the time. Here we have Schlurgle, also known as the boss that I DPS, that I just tank all of his attacks, even as Lithius. That's what Schlurgle here is, the boss that you tank all the attacks from. Now, when he uses his big, like, shotgun blast move, you're screwed. But we beat Schlurgle. This is the one cutscene in the game that I did. And it's the first 4 frames of any given ended cutscene. And then there's the ending done by DGM. Now you can contrast these two, see how different art styles they are. The main reason I kept this is because I just really like the vibe of this scene. God, this scene is just so friggin' weird, which is what the Delta area is supposed to be. Which, if you're curious why I decided to keep my version of it, this just fits the Delta more as an area. Just the etherealness of it, and just general weirdness of it. Because this is a weird shot here. There's no doubt this is a weird shot. But anyway, then we have the ending that DGM did, which obviously looks better. Now we're going to go back and do Stage 3. As you can see in all of the cutscene parts, there is an arrow in the top left in case you do want to go back to the map during the cutscene instead of continuing. That's just in case you really do want to fight Lithius after beating Stage 2 or 3. But I'm actually going to try and redeem myself here by beating Stage 3 on camera. Let's see if I can do that. Lithius's uppercut stab, like his K button move, cheeses a lot of the enemies. It's easily his most broken move. Every character's got that one broken move. Lithius doesn't have a super broken move, but he has 2 regular broken moves. If you're curious why Lithius has 2 slash moves, or like the uppercut stab and just the pokey wokey, that's because I made him that's because I made him first, and therefore he has the least interesting moveset. I guess from a like conceptual standpoint, his moveset is the least interesting, as it's just all based around that Triton. I guess fork, whatever you want to call it. The spin is the most unique move he has, obviously. Fun fact: Usurper's mummy form is called the Limper. No one has ever heard me say that, but it is the case. the reason for that is, what was Usurper called before he betrayed Death? Because he's not just going to be working under Death and just have the name Usurper of Death. No, he's the Limper. I will not be doing anything on Endless in this video, and I didn't plan on doing anything with Lithius, but I might fight Lithius. Who knows? We'll see how Stage 3 here goes. A common thing I'll do with Skull Grunts is I'll put 2 of them in the same spot, just to troll the player. And I died again. Alright, we're going back into Taken City. I swear this is the hardest level in the game. Stage 4 is worse, and I like Stage 4 less, but this is probably the hardest conventional level in the game. Obviously, because the Zombigales are the only this isn't the reason it's hardest, but I'm giving an example. The Zombigales are the only normal enemy in the game that can stagger you with their normal attack. So, yeah. The Mazghouls can stagger you as well, but it's their secondary attack that has a ginormous windup. Nothing in Stage 4 can stagger you besides Sentinel. Now, at one point, I did tweak the hitbox of the Zombigale here, so he can only hit you with this. The hitbox was broken on him, like really broken. So he's one of the few times where I actually tweaked the hitbox to be less garbage. Minion's another case where I tweaked his slash hitbox to be better. Also, there used to be a thing where you could hit the edge of his sword and it would damage him. I have fixed that, so that's good, I guess. Now, playing through Rise is a very interesting thing, because it doesn't really feel the same as M1 to any degree. Like, it's slower overall. It's both slower and faster somehow, and I don't get how that is. Like, you move so fast in M1, but you overall move slower here. But it's a faster-paced game than M1 overall, and I don't know why that is. Like, I'm the guy who made the thing, and I can't tell you why this is a faster game, even though everything moves slower. I guess the enemies and you move at a similar pace in this game, like a really similar pace, and they're all going towards you at once. Also, everything in Rise has way less health than Maximus does, than in Maximus. Like, everything in Rise just takes no time to kill. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I think it's a good thing, considering how simple Rise is conceptually. You don't want it to overstay its welcome. Rise does not have as much depth to it as M1 does, and M1 doesn't even have that much depth overall compared to the 4Fat's newer games. M1 is a very simple game. This is that, but somehow even more simple. So we have the hardest version of Usurper ever, the one that has 20 more health. Yes, he does have Envoy's spin sound effect for his laser. Okay, I did it! So I've beaten Stage 3 and 4 on camera. Suck it, CK! So now it's time for Lithius, I guess. We're gonna do Lithius. The best thing about Lithius is that intro animation. As a fight, it's just okay. I do think he is the best designed boss in the game in a lot of ways, but it's just kind of where he is. I think Lithius should have had his own stage, had less health, and had enemies in the stage. I feel like that's what it should be. Like, he should be a boss with similar health to friggin' Sumer, rather than the beefy 400 to 500 he actually has. Lithius is definitely the most complicated boss in the game, has the most attacks. But he is not a hard fight in the slightest. And you can see some of his attack hitboxes are so wonky he can't hit me a lot of the time. Like, if I'm attacking, my attacks override a lot of his. And that's Lithius as a boss fight. And it's pretty simple. I'm not going to go into Endless, because Endless still is very wonk, and I still need to fix a lot of it for restoration. Not that much, in all honesty. I think I've fixed enough of it, like quite a bit of it so far. But there's still some stuff I need to fix. But that should be the recording. So I'm going to go ahead and upload this. Oh god, it's 25 minutes long. But I'm going to go ahead and upload this. Almost 26. Now it is 26. So, see ya. Takeover Devlog number 2 should be out in not soon at all. I still have a lot to do before I think Devlog number 2 is warranted. There's not enough new content is what I'm saying. There needs to be quite a bit more. Because I've been focusing on the restoration update for Rise, mostly.